Good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, on patrol, live. Now, it is a gorgeous day, but it's hot, so you got to make sure you're staying hydrated. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos making sure everyone has everything they need to know for the upcoming heat. A lot of people complain that we're hyping it up. It's just the first heat wave, and we don't need you passing out doing daily things. So last week, what was it? It was Police Week, and I hyped it up. But I got to give my counterparts their attention. So today we are welcoming in Bridget. She is a former EMT, paramedic, EMS, what would you... EMT, right. I always have to make sure that I do it right because then I get in trouble with all my other brothers and sisters on the medical side. They're like, Steve, you don't know what you're talking about, so just don't talk about it. But Bridget, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. And we're talking a little bit of a different approach on the medical side of things. I do a lot of mental health awareness on the law enforcement side, but I don't get the opportunity to really talk to you guys about it. And you see it almost on every call, the traumatic stuff. So to deal with it, it's not like you're going to a call for someone complaining about a loud noise complaint. Every call is some level of hysteria for somebody.
Yes.
But first, I don't want to just jump into business. I want to know a little bit about you. Where are you from?
I'm from upstate New York.
A New Yorker.
Yes.
Where upstate?
Like 20 minutes from Canada in a little town called Philadelphia.
Okay. So my wife, she's a flight attendant, and she's based up in Newark right now. Unfortunately, she lives in Chester. So I don't know if that, to me, that's as upstate as it gets, but I know it goes way further north from there.
Yes.
You guys, how long have you been down here in Florida?
About 4 years.
Okay, and so I'm guessing then from the transition, you were an EMT up north.
Right. I went to EMT school.
Okay.
It was a volunteer fire department.
I'm always interested with stuff like that because we don't have a lot of that here in Florida.
Yeah, that's a big thing there.
Talk to me a little bit about your youth and how you got into the medical world.
So growing up, my mom was a medic in the volunteer fire department, and my dad was a volunteer firefighter, and he was also a correctional officer.
Okay.
And then my mom went to work for the government as a medic. So growing up, that was just the normal, and with the volunteer side of things, my mom, we'd be in the car with her or something, and she'd get a call and she would take us.
So you were surrounded by this.
Right, yeah, and that was just the normal thing, like normal talk, like death, everything, that was just normal, everyday conversation.
And correct me at any time, because I know nothing about this side of it. If you're in the car with her, volunteer, so you're volunteering for the community that you live in.
Right.
So basically, your mom and you guys are responding to neighbor emergencies.
Right, correct.
That's got to be kind of intense growing up around stuff like that.
Yeah, like especially when we were young, like 7 years old and stuff, going on like head-on collisions and seeing all that stuff. Back then, it was just like, wow, this stuff is kind of cool. Like, our parents are helping people, other people in the community are helping, and with volunteer, everybody stops what they're doing and they just respond to calls.
Wow.
Like you could be in the middle of dinner and my parents would leave. So it was
And this was around the clock.
Yeah.
And volunteer, your parents aren't getting paid for this.
No.
That's kind of crazy.
A lot of my family is in the volunteer fire department as well. So it was normal. You could be doing anything and your parents have to leave, for a call, or you would hear it go off in the middle of the night and your parents would leave.
It was the little black box, right?
Yep, a little pager
with a little pager speaker on it, right? So I was, many moons ago, past life, I worked at a small police department called the Mexico Beach Police Department. 6 cops, and 2 of those 6 cops were the paramedics.
Oh, wow.
One of them was a firefighter. And I remember lunch out, they always had this little beeper in their cargo pocket, and out of nowhere the tone would go off.
Yep.
So that's the same one you're talking about. That's crazy.
Yes.
So you growing up around this, obviously as you got older, you're like, I'm going to get involved in it.
Right. Like I think, so for a while I had lost my purpose. Like when I moved to Florida, I didn't really know what to do. Like I was basically lost. Like
okay.
I was going through a divorce. I came to Florida. My parents lived here. My children they're young adults,
Right.
old enough to live on their own. So everything was kind of happening all at once, and I was like, man, what's my purpose? You know,
Okay.
I've always had a job where I could give back to people and help people, and so that's how I found VRA and the peer support program. And I had worked along with Karen for a while, and then she got me into peer support. So I took the training and became certified, and then I started working for VRA.
Wow.
Being a peer for other first responders. You know, we're really lacking that, because as a first responder, you think like, I have to be strong. I can't show signs of weakness because I'm supposed to be helping other people. And
It's almost like you have written that in a job description somewhere, and your employer didn't even put it there. It's in your
Right,
brain
yes.
that I have to be
have
this
to,
way.
Yes. And the sad part is so many first responders, you know, police, firefighters, even dispatch and corrections, so many people suffer in silence because of that. And
Yeah.
it's a huge stigma. Like, we can't be weak. And at the end of the day, everybody has some sort of something that they
Yes.
need to work through.
What was it, if I could ask you a personal question, since we're talking about such a heightened topic here, what was it for you that said, I need to do this? Was there something that occurred, or a trigger that is, you know, like, whoa, I'm feeling this way. There's got to be other people feeling this way.
So, growing up, and even as like a young adult, I had that stigma too. Like, I can't show signs of weakness. You know,
Right.
if you do, you're weak. Like, you know.
Did you see that growing up, even around the volunteer service?
Yeah.
Like around your, and this, no, I'm not, by no means, and I don't want you to, am I speaking in any ill, but around your parents and stuff, was there always that I have to help this community?
Yes.
Like, I have to take care of them first before I take care of myself.
So it even went as far as, like my mom, the church would call and be like, we got a lady who's homeless, you know, all this stuff. My mom would move her in. It was always had to help somebody. Then my parents were foster parents, so we always had little kids, you know, coming in and out, and their whole lives were built around helping other people. That's all we knew.
Did
know?
over time you see that maybe they forgot to take care of themselves?
Yeah, you can see, like, you know, my parents could have used some of that quality time together, or, you know, I didn't never think about self-care. Now I do. Self-care is really huge. If we don't take time for ourselves, at the end of the day, we really can't help anybody else.
Bridget, I say this all the time, and because as a trooper, you know, you're out there by yourself a lot.
Yeah.
And you're always worried about everyone else. Okay, I'm going to work another call. I'm going to go work this other job. But it's like, you cannot take care of anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself.
Correct.
And people are like, well, I've heard one person many years ago, that's kind of selfish to say. And I was like, well, it's kind of selfish for you to think that a human should choose to forget about their own life
Yeah.
because of their job. And when I said it like that, they were like, because that's what we forget, that we're not robots,
Right.
and that there's this energy battery that needs constant recharging, and we have to recharge it.
Right, we can't pour from an empty cup.
Amen.
You know, and if we don't continue to fill our cup back up, and there was a breaking point for me. So after I came here and I got linked up with Karen and
Okay.
the VRA, and I was so lost and stuff. Everything from my past, I used to just put it like in a closet,
Okay.
basically.
Compartmentalize it,
Right.
store it
just,
away.
This is where it's going. This is how it is. And one day those hinges broke off because that closet door, you know, couldn't take the pressure anymore, basically. So that's when I was like, wow, you know, I'm so forgetting about myself. And if I was to keep myself healthy and do self-care, then I'm even able to help people
In a
even
better
more,
situation, right.
You know, because
We're
if
going to do a little bump here. Hold on. Whoop, there, more than a little one. Your truck would have been handled that way better than my truck. So now that you're focused on what you're doing, talk to me a little bit about what's happening here, because I love the fact that you're going into what your goal is to get into some of these departments and to these agencies. Talk to me about what your mission currently is.
So there's a couple of us that work a program called Building First Responder Resiliency.
Okay.
Out of Volusia Recovery Alliance. And what we do is we try to network with the different fire departments, police stations, the Department of Corrections, and get in there and say like, hey, we're here. Not everybody wants to go to somebody that's in their department.
Right.
Or they're, they have people, counselors and stuff, and they don't want to do that. This comes back to the whole stigma of you can't be weak, So
they almost want that cloud of silence,
right?
Like,
so
hey, or anonymity kind of thing. Like,
yes.
Let me go somewhere like confessional at a church.
Yeah,
You're going in. I'm going to say what I got to say, but when I leave here, you're not talking to anybody else.
It's totally confidential. We meet them where they're at. I'll meet you at a coffee shop. I'll meet you at the beach. Wherever. Totally confidential. We will even pay for, like, they don't want to use their own insurance for therapy, like trauma therapy and stuff.
Why not?
Because somebody might find out that they're seeking therapy, and that's sad,
Ooh, that makes me angry.
So what we will do is we will pay for their therapy, and nobody has to know they're getting it. We also offer equine therapy, trauma therapy. We have a therapist that we work with, a couple of them.
You just triggered me in a way that, like, I just get upset with the idea that someone is paying for medical insurance
and don't want to use
and
it.
doesn't want to use it in fear that their employer
it's sad.
would find out.
Yeah, that is sad.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, is work on that, work on the stigma. Like, it's okay to not be okay, and nobody should suffer in silence.
Well, and you said it when you got right in the truck. I don't care if you think you're someone who has everything together.
Right.
There is something that bothers you on the daily. There is a trigger that you may not know you have, but other people know you have.
Right.
Or something that you have taken and put somewhere so you forgot about it. Mm-hmm. And just because you forgot about it doesn't mean that that's good for you. No, you need to work through it.
Trigger it
and it's going to show up. And you may not be ready for that moment.
Yep.
In transparency, like I think for me, I'm not diagnosed with PTSD or anything like that. That lady's waving hi to us. Hi. I recognize the truck. But I have a weird tendency to where I operate much better in stress.
That's me.
And when things are calm, I get a little antsy. To the point where, like, you give me something easy to do and someone is having trouble doing it around me, I'll get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
let's go.
Let's go.
Yes.
But then the world could be collapsing and I'm in my zone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's easy for me.
You run on chaos,
Yep.
And that's not good either, because eventually, people start having compassion fatigue, burnout. Yep. But they need the money. They keep going. They're trying to push through.
I think burnout's a big thing right now.
Burnout is huge. And, another huge thing is suicides for first responders.
Yeah.
If we could make that connection, where they're not so scared to reach out or use their own insurance, we don't mind paying at all. But you should never have to be afraid to use something you pay for.
But sooner or later, those funds have to come from somewhere.
Right.
And you guys have to then continue to do your thing and go out and fundraise and get those funds.
I'm trying to work on fundraisers right now. Like, I've reached out to people in the local community to see if we could do some fundraisers, because our funds are tight right now. We're approaching the end of our funding cycle.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get our funds renewed. We'll have to see come June. But in the meantime, we're trying to do fundraisers, because another thing that is big with first responders, there's a lot of young first responders now. And a lot of them, unfortunately, have financial issues.
Yep.
So we will, when we have the funds, we will help pay for, like, groceries, if you're behind on your rent or your light bill.
Almost preventing the snowball effect.
Yes, because they
that
already
can
have
cause a problem
yes,
too.
they already have the stress of work. They don't need the stress of financial issues as well. And we don't only help just first responders. We also help retired first responders and their families. We will pay for therapy and stuff for your wife, your kids, you know.
A whole holistic approach. I think that's too. I work with, there's another foundation. This is not, for one, I want to be clear, this is not going to be a one and done interview, because what you're doing out here in Volusia, I want to be a part of it.
Okay.
So we are going to do a follow up with you. I happen to know some people, so I can definitely open some doors and get you into some of the right places. But I work with another organization called COPS. It's Concerns of Police Survivors. And what you said just reminded me of them, because it's everybody. It's not just the person, because that person might be the tree, but there are other roots and vines that touch that tree.
That are below that
tree,
surface,
right?
yes.
And intermingle, and they take care of a family. They take care of the coworkers that are around that person.
Right.
And I really can appreciate the whole approach. Now, anybody watching or who wants to get involved or support what you're doing or the organization, how can they get in touch with you?
Just reach out to me.
Okay. I'll put your contact information on the article. So if you guys head over to clickorlando.com/onpatrol, this is going to be there. This is going to be on YouTube. We're going to put it out, and then it'll be on the 5 p.m. newscast as well. But what's Bridget promoting here? At the end of the day, we hear this all the time. It's okay to not be okay. It sounds cliche, but when you say it, you listen to it, and you define it, it's so much bigger than what we're talking about mental health. We're talking about people taking care of people. You grew up in this world. Right. And you've seen the outcome of what could happen if someone was to take care of their mental health, or if they don't.
Yeah, we have to break that stigma at the end of the day. And that's what I'm here for, to bridge that gap.
I love it.
Anybody can reach out to me anytime, day or night.
Okay.
If you just want to vent, or you need linkage to services, or you need something, reach out.
I will put all of Bridget's information at the bottom of the article over at clickorlando.com. Once I get it, we'll send it over to the web team, get that updated for you. But Bridget, I want to thank you for taking some time with me here, and it's beautiful today.
Beautiful.
You live out here in New Smyrna?
I do.
Man,
It's
lucky.
beautiful.
I talk about New Smyrna Beach all the time. My wife is like, we need to live on the coast. You need to buy property out there. And I'm like, it's far from the office, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
ma'am, thank you so much.
You
I
so
appreciate
much.
you
I
guys.
appreciate
Head to clickorlando.com. We'll see you later.